Jeffrey sat in the bushes observing how Adonis acts on his date. What? How can he just pull her chair like that? That's not appropriate, but she seems to like it. How can he just go in for the kiss like that? It's like it's too early. Jeffrey's so confused. Everything that he knows about women is being destroyed by Adonis. Adonis is not the top 1% man. He is the top 0.000000001% man. His actions are picture perfect. Just look at that body language. So this is how you've got to be to attract a woman. The fastest progress I ever made in my dating life came from when I did a tactic that you might find uncool and lame, but I'm just gonna tell you the complete truth. I'd love to position myself like, yeah, guess what, bro? I was always good with girls. I was a natural. I wasn't. I was awkward as fuck. I could tell you so many cringy stories where I was trying to like interact with a girl when I was 17, 18, 19, and I would just fumble, I'd stutter, I'd just mess up, I'd say something randomly offensive to them. I'd just randomly start being mean to them because I had no idea how to interact with girls. But the tactic that I used that was lame and it was cringe, but it worked. I started to watch videos of guys who were good with girls and I would literally just copy their mannerisms. So there was a guy who still has his YouTube channel who's still growing. This is like one of the OGs of the UK fitness niche and his name is Joe Delaney and he's in like a happy relationship. He's just become a father. W in the chat for him as well. But back like 10 years ago, he's just a young guy. He's fit, he's handsome, and he's getting girls. And so he would vlog himself interacting with girls. He'd go on to dates, he'd be on picnics. And I would watch these like whilst eating my like chicken and rice at home thinking, wow, like, okay, that's what he does. And you know, I'd pick up on his body language, the way that he spoke, how laid back he was, the jokes that he'd make. And it's not cool for me to admit this, but I just started to copy what he did with girls that I would meet. And it worked instantly. As I did this one day, thinking that, you know, it would make me feel kind of cringe and uncomfortable to copy another guy, something clicked and I thought, oh yeah, well wait, if I'm copying another guy, I'm of course not going to be able to copy 100% of him just because of like the individual differences between us. And so at that point, I actually have my own unique spin on it. I'm able to see like a trait, a behavior in a man that I admire that I can think, oh yeah, this is actually like a good thing he's doing. And I'm able to copy it, but because I can't copy it 100%, suddenly it's actually my own authentic, genuine behavior. And so around this time, I went from a 0 to 100 improvement, like a complete 180, interacting with not only girls, but also other guys my age. And the beautiful part about this, by the way, is years later, I don't actually think about this. Like, I don't like, you know, try and change my body language or anything at all. I promise you. When I'm next to girls or not, I don't try and do anything. I literally just follow like the brain dead advice of like, just be yourself. But it's lovely that after a while of like trying to seem cool, of, you know, trying to be attractive to girls, it kind of naturalizes and you start to like not need to think about this, which is so nice. So you might need to go through a period right now where you copy like the top 1% man and I'll tell you the traits to copy. And it'll feel kind of cringe doing it. But I promise you, 6 months, 12 months of doing this, it'll be so normal for you to act like this. It won't even be in your mind anymore. This will just be who you are and you'll just be that cool, smooth guy next to the girls and the guys. The first way, and such an interesting way because guys who aren't really good with girls do this so wrong, is the kind of conversation that I've seen that the top 1% men have. First of all, the bottom like 80% of guys, the conversations they have, particularly with girls, are kind of like interviews. It's so unsocially calibrated. Jeffrey will go up to a girl that he wants the cold approach or he wants to date, and he'll just kind of ask her question after question, stood there with awkward body language like, oh hi, so what's your name? And how old are you? And which university do you go to? Oh, and what do you study? And what do you like to do for fun? And where do you live? It's just question after question after question. And I don't blame the Jeffreys who are like this, because all over the internet, you're told that if you take an interest in her and you ask a lot of questions, that you'll be seen as like an attractive guy. But this is not how the attractive guys interact with women. You'll be so surprised if you watch like a top 1% guy speak to a girl. It's never like he's asking these interview questions. They just kind of say whatever was on their mind. So I'll give you an example of this with me. I was in Bali recently and I'm in this gym that has like this outdoor kind of dining area, but it's also got like swimming pools and sunbathing. So girls are basically just wearing like bikinis, and so everyone's physique is on show. You're shirtless and everything, right? This blonde girl walks past with a very nice physique, like glutes, lean, everything, to the point that guys are literally staring as she walks past. I noticed this this one guy stare at her while she was placing her order at the desk, you know, with the waiter. And for some reason, I just thought like, man, you know what? Fuck that guy. I'm gonna get this girl. So I'm stood just kind of like in the sun, kind of enjoying the sun for a second. I think I was like wet from the pool, so I was like drying myself. And when she walks past me, I just said whatever was on my mind. So guess what I said? Excuse me, your physique is insane. That's all I said. Now that sounds almost weird to say to a girl, you're complimenting her body. But that was what was on my mind. And guess what her response was? Thank you, so is yours. Instantly, like the ice is broken. Now imagine if I said to her, excuse me, you know, what's your name and what's your workout split? Imagine if I just started interviewing her like Jeffrey would have done. But I just said what was on my mind. You've got an insane physique, because she did. And as soon as I said that, she smiled and said that I did as well, because I was stood there shirtless, and let's be honest, this is what I look like. My physique's fucking insane as well. So I got her number, we went on a date, it was fun. So in terms of your conversations, think less about that sort of pussy advice that you've seen of asking questions, and instead, I know this is gonna be scary, just say whatever the fuck is on your mind. You can sometimes just talk about what's happening right now, like, haha, that guy just did a backflip. You can say that next to a girl, and that's actually an interesting conversation compared to like fucking, what university do you go to? What do you study? What's the coordinates of your household residence? It's like, stop asking these fucking boring ass questions. Do you have any siblings? Stop asking these boring ass questions you don't even give a fuck about the answer to, right? Do you really care if she's got siblings? Get fucked. I don't give a shit. Oh, I've got one brother and my favorite color's violet. I don't give a fuck. You've got nice glutes. The second thing you'll see if you observe like a top 1% man is the body language. When you look at Jeffries, one of the things I've seen is they're very, very constrained in their bodies. They almost stand like NPCs, you know, from like a video game, like the characters you have to talk to for the quest. Like they'll just stand there like this, like just awkward, not moving, not breathing, and it just makes you feel kind of uncomfortable to be next to a guy like this. You're most likely like this, and there's a few reasons why. You sit all day, you're on the internet all day, and you don't interact with people enough. But the vicious reason why this is all happening is because daddy didn't play with you enough. I remember seeing a study that the kids who had a dad that played with them and played physically, wrestled and raced and fought, you know, like play fighting, ended up having way better like nervous systems and were way more flexible. If you didn't have that father figure or the kind of relationship where you could get like physical with your family, then you might feel kind of stuck and constrained in your body today. And that can be really sad because you could miss out on like physical touch, on being able to just breathe and feel your body fully. But the guys who are really confident, really attractive, they don't stand there like NPCs. You'll notice if they're talking to a girl, imagine they're stood up, they're subtly moving as they talk to her. They'll like randomly balance on one foot, playing around, like, you know, like a little boy would. They'll balance on one foot, they'll almost like fall over, they'll touch the girl as they fall, they'll stand there for a second, they'll say something deep and then touch her shoulder at the same time. They'll just randomly put their hands like above their head and like stretch, or put it behind their back and like crack their back. They're not scared of making movements. A lot of guys who aren't very attractive or good with girls or good in social situations, it's kind of like they're scared of every movement that they take. But the guys who are like the naturals, they'll just freely move around. They'll feel like their leg is starting to hurt and they'll literally crack their knee, like, you know, like bending their leg, their lower leg, in front of a girl like it's a normal, healthy thing to do. The guys who struggle restrain themselves so much that they look so awkward. Then the third thing that you'll notice, and this is if you're really good at observing, is that the top guys breathe. They actually breathe as if nothing is different. So imagine the way you breathe when you're relaxed at home, nothing's happening. You'd be breathing nice and pleasantly normal. If a girl randomly comes up and taps you on the shoulder and says, excuse me, and she's really attractive and she's about to speak to you, your breath would get caught. You'd randomly like almost hold your breath by accident just because it's like an anxiety inducing kind of experience. When you hold your breath, again, you have that like look of like a restrained NPC. It's like your mind starts to get like fucked. You start stuttering your words more often. Your sentences aren't very coherent. You don't look very relaxed. Your voice starts going like higher pitched. You start speaking faster and faster and faster. If you really take a good breath right now as I speak, you might notice there was like tension in your stomach that just dissipated. You were like squeezing your stomach this entire time. In these times of like heightened stress, which does happen when like you're speaking to a really attractive girl or you're in the middle of like a social circle, it's so normal to just completely forget to breathe. If you can just give yourself the reminder, oh yeah, take a deep breath, you'll notice your lower belly will kind of finally open. And you might think, wait, that doesn't really look as good as if I like squeeze it and, you know, I look like I've got a better six pack. But I'm telling you, when you're speaking to like a girl or a guy guy, what will get you a better relationship with them is not you squeezing your six pack, but it's you being completely relaxed. It's kind of like having the energy of a 35-year-old man who's a lot more certain in himself. You start speaking slower, sexier, your voice gets deeper, and you start like staring into her eye more, and you're being more intimate. When you're holding your breath, you're like speaking like a little rat. You know, like a little squeaker, like those young kids on Xbox Live or something who've got like high-pitched voice. You've got like more like that young boy energy. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss videos like this. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it. Mwah.